Hey guys, Angelo here, back with another super cool project. I'm looking crazy beat today, holy crap. But it's because I got like zero sleep. I've been like working on all these crazy projects, but that's for another time. Today we're going to be going over the 350Z taillights, making our own clear tails for a 350Z, and also adding some color changing LEDs to it. This is a super cool project. I haven't seen both of these put together. I've seen the RGB LEDs on a different type of shroud, and I've seen the clear lenses, but I've never seen them put together. And we're gonna go over how to design both of them today. So if you want to do that for your car, you can watch this video. You should be able to do it. I'm gonna have all the files available. So PCB files, the programmer for the program for the controller that I made, the 3D printed parts and all that. So if you want to make it for your car, you should be able to do it after watching this video. You should be able to make it for pretty much any car. So yeah, watch.
Alright, first thing you want to do is go to eBay or wherever you can and get these two tail lights. One you're getting for the clear lens and one you're getting for the chrome shroud. Once you get your tail lights, you're going to put them in the oven at 270 degrees for 7 to 8 minutes. You're going to pop them out and then pop them in for 3 to 4 minute intervals until it becomes easy to get the lens off the shroud. Then you're going to use a screwdriver, or I'd recommend a hard plastic so you don't scratch up the shroud, to get in between the lens and the shroud and start prying the lens off. This is pretty difficult, so I'd recommend starting with the lens that you don't care about breaking first to get a good understanding of what you need to do to get it off without breaking it. Also, make sure the area is ventilated. Once you put the taillights in there, it's going to start to give off some fumes from the sealant. I use this butyl sealant and I put it in between the shroud and the lens and then rebake the lens back onto the shroud. This is how mine came out. I do have a couple little scratches here and there, but overall I'm pretty satisfied with how it came out. To get to the electronics, I'm going to use a Dremel and cut this back section right here. Once you get in here, you can see all the PCBs are being held in by screws. Just use a screwdriver to unscrew them. The top one, you might have to drill a hole in the shroud to get the screwdriver in there. After taking a look at these PCBs, I decided the best course of action would be to pretty much copy these same dimensions of the PCBs and placement of the LEDs and just replace it with color changing LEDs. Important to note here, these LEDs have a lens, and what that does is focus all the light in one particular direction, making it more visible in the direction it's facing. This is the whole circuit I came up with. Take a minute to pause and take a look. Starting from the car battery, you'll get 12 volts going to a relay. The relay is activated by an ignition 12 volts. I put I don't know there because I didn't know where I was going to mount that ground. There's a 4 amp fuse for overcurrent protection. It goes to a buck converter which drops the voltage from 12 volts to 5 volts. The 5 volts feeds the LEDs in the Arduino controller. The Arduino sends data to the LEDs through that 330 ohm resistor. I'm using two N-channel MOSFETs for reading the 12 volt signals from the car. I'm using a TVS diode in case of any surges. The resistor's there to drain the power at the gate. Lastly, I added a switch so I could switch between show mode and normal mode. There is a small capacitor at every LED, I forgot to add this. I decided to go with these NeoPixel LEDs. They're pretty high quality, pretty popular. There's a lot of tutorials on how to control them, both on this website and on YouTube, and they're easy to work with. So there's also another version of these called the WS2812B. This is like the cheaper eBay version. I've used these a couple times, but they usually don't last that long. Here I'm using a digital caliper to get all the dimensions of the PCB. To start designing the PCBs, I'm going to open this program called Eagle. It's a free program from Autodesk. And I'm going to make the circuit right here. These are the WS2812B LEDs. I added a capacitor to buffer the voltage for each LED, and I added terminals for wires going to the controller and to the other LEDs. So after getting all the dimensions for the board, I came up with this. Here you can see the LEDs, the mounting holes for the screws, the capacitors, and the terminals. This can be really intimidating for someone who's first starting to design electrical circuits, so I'd recommend going through this video if you're going to start designing them. I will have the files available, but if you want to design them for another car or use any different LEDs, you'll have to probably look at this tutorial. Once I was done designing all the files, I sent them to a PCB manufacturer. I sent them to JLC PCB, and within a couple of weeks I got my PCBs. After getting all the components I need, the LEDs, the capacitor, the resistor, and the terminals, I then began to put them all together. Since I'm using surface mount components, I'm going to be using this stuff called solder paste. It's basically like solder, but it keeps the PCB a little bit cleaner. Now that the PCBs are done, I'm going to wire them together. Last thing I'm going to add are some LED lenses. This focuses the light in one direction and makes it more intense. So from here, once you have all your PCBs done and wired, you need a controller. I would recommend going to this website and getting one of these Ghost controllers. They're the most popular ones on the market right now, and from what I've seen, it's actually a pretty good product. I decided I didn't want to buy this controller only because I wanted to make my own controller because I thought it would be fun. So I made my own Arduino based controller. This controller basically is only a couple of components. It has the Arduino, a 12 volt to 5 volt buck converter. I have two N-channel MOSFETs, which are pretty much used to read the signals from the car. I have two TVS diodes, which are used for surge protection on the MOSFETs, and just a bunch of terminals. The programming for this could be honestly a whole video in itself. It's honestly pretty complicated for someone who doesn't understand programming, but basically there's a specific way you want to program the Arduino so that it's responsive to button pushes, and also so that it can run more than one pattern at one time. There's a really good tutorial on the Adafruit website on how to do this. So earlier I cut the taillight to get to the electronics, so I'm going to 3D model a shroud for it. I was able to import the PCB I made into here so I can make some standoffs for it to mount on. The last thing I had to do was wire the chassis with the relay, the fuse, and the show mode switch.
Hold up,
I'll be linking all the design files soon, but if you have any questions about doing this for your car, send me a message on Instagram.
Down you get shot to your dome, I had to slice some niggas out, I done that white they know. Yeah, pussy nigga know I came from toting poles, and you ain't built like that little nigga.